Hey everyone, here is what is about to happen in the world of Bitcoin to the best of my ability to predict, which of course is limited. So one of these days, or hours, or weeks, or whatever, Bitcoin will suddenly take off, similar to the way MicroStrategy, MSTR, just recently took off in the last week or two, and is now the best performing stock, outperformed every single stock on the S&P 500, and their main strategy is buying Bitcoin. They're essentially a Bitcoin holding company. So Bitcoin at some point in the next hours, days, weeks, whatever, will do the exact same thing. And a ton of people are waiting for that to happen to validate whether they should buy more Bitcoin. So the same Bitcoin they could buy today for $62,800, they will end up buying between $80,000 and $100,000. There's a couple reasons for that. One, everybody wants validation that an asset is moving in the direction they want it to move before they buy it. So obviously what makes the most sense is to buy an asset once you believe in the fundamentals of an asset, to buy it as cheap as you can buy it, which means when other people are not buying it, when the asset is boring or scary or, down. But that is not the behavior of the vast majority of people. So the vast majority of people that are sort of a little plugged into Bitcoin, but not really, are sitting on the sidelines waiting for it to become interesting again. So Bitcoin will eventually hit 74,000 a coin, which is an all-time high. And those people will sit around watching to see if that's temporary and if it's going to pull back as it has in the past, or if this is signs of a new trajectory and a new upward price momentum. And about the time it crosses 80,000, people are going to say, wow, I really should have bought it back below 63,000 like you can right now, but they won't, because, that's human nature. I really should have bought it below 63,000. But here it is zooming past 80,000. I better buy some. So they'll buy some between $80,000 and $100,000. Then they'll feel good about their level of Bitcoin exposure. The price will go up and down, just like it always does. Eventually it'll zoom past $120,000, $160,000. Now, of course, serious fear of missing out kicks in, and they buy a lot more. And then they feel good about that level, and then it zooms past 200,000 or 250,000 or whatever. And eventually, the fear of missing out is at its peak, and people buy the absolute most Bitcoin they can possibly afford, somewhere close to whatever the peak high price is for this cycle. And I don't know what that is. If I had to guess, I have no idea. I'm going to predict off the top of my head somewhere between $180,000 and $360,000. So that's a huge range, but let's say somewhere between $180,000, which is roughly triple its current price, and $360,000, which is roughly 6 times its current price. Let's say around there is the high, and that is where people will be dumping the last of the money they feel comfortable buying Bitcoin with. They'll be dumping it in the market at that price. And then, of course, the market will go through a 50% price correction or something like that in 2026. Just because, again, if you read Vijay Boyapati's book, The Bullish Case for Bitcoin, that book, again, Vijay Boyapati, the book is called The Bullish Case for Bitcoin. If you understand how the Gartner hype cycle works, you understand how the adoption of new technologies happens and how that's reflected in price. And as a result of that, the price goes in cyclical waves early on in the adoption of any technology. And Bitcoin is just going through that very natural process that has gone through numerous things before for other assets. So it'll do that. It'll zoom up to 180 and drop back down to 90,000 very temporarily in 2026 before going back up, marching again higher. Or let's say it goes up to $360,000 and then it drops to $180,000. I don't know, but it'll be a much higher price. So going back to our hypothetical example of somebody sitting on the sidelines right now, they could buy as much Bitcoin as they want below $65,000 right now. In fact, below $63,000 right now. But they'll end up buying most of the Bitcoin at an average price of, let's call it $150,000. When you include buys that they make at 80,000, 100,000, 240,000, 320,000, whatever, when you average it all out, their average price for a Bitcoin purchase will end up being somewhere between 120,000 and 150,000 for the exact same Bitcoin they can buy right now for 63,000. So that is human nature. Humans want that price validation, and they don't feel comfortable making huge financial commitments until they get that price validation. And the problem with that approach is that you end up buying the asset at a significantly higher price than you otherwise could. So what is the solution for that? The solution for that is knowledge and education so that you can get the validation of the asset independent of the price. So if you spend as much time studying Bitcoin as me and, 100 million other people around the world have at this point, it's a huge group of people now. If you spend as much time studying Bitcoin as I have, you can get your conviction on the technology and the certainty of the adoption of that technology very, very, very high, regardless of what the price is doing in the near term. As a result, you're able to have the conviction to buy Bitcoin when it's either boring or scary, which is when you can buy it at the cheapest price, which again, I was buying Bitcoin all the way down to 16,000 a coin. I was buying Bitcoin in the 20,000s, the 16,000, and, a few purchases under $16,000. And if you go way back, I was buying it, in the high single digit thousands, as in, between 6,000 and 9,000 when I first initially bought Bitcoin back in 2017 and 2018. So anyway, the solution to that is to read Vijay Poyapati's book, The Bullish Case for Bitcoin, then go to my website, Bitcoin Bubble Myth, myth.com. So Bitcoin Bubble Myth, with myth spelled myth, as it is spelled. So bitcoinbubblемyth.com, those 3 words in a row.com. Watch my presentation about why Bitcoin is not a bubble, why it goes through these cycles, and I've done various videos in the past explaining the Gartner hype cycle and why Bitcoin goes through these cycles. So if you do the work, if you do the research now, you can buy the Bitcoin while it's still cheap. If you wait for the price to validate the direction of the movement and the fact that it's a good investment, there's no harm in that. It's not, there's no bad time to buy Bitcoin, but it means you end up buying Bitcoin at an average price that's significantly higher than if you had used knowledge and education to increase your conviction and therefore your allocation to Bitcoin. So that's the action item. The action item for today is go back and watch my old videos, scroll back through all the content I've put out in the last 9 months, since fall of last year. Read the posts that stand out to you. Watch the videos that stand out to you. Read the document I posted at the top of that's pinned at the top of both of my Facebook pages, which is Bitcoin information. It's a Microsoft Word document on Dropbox. So it's a Dropbox link. Read that whole document, all 78 pages of it, where I do my best to explain Bitcoin in the easiest to understand way possible. If you do that work, you can buy a lot more Bitcoin now, and your conviction will be a lot higher as a result of your study and research. The alternative is to wait until it's super exciting again, because the price is going super high, and you can buy it after the price has gone way up, which is also fine. It's just, if you want to buy way more Bitcoin, it's better to buy it when it's cheaper versus expensive. And the best time to do that is a time like now, when nobody's really paying attention. The all-time search volume for the word Bitcoin is really low. Everyone is just focused on other things right now. So the takeaway, do the research, do the studying, learn as much as you can, buy as much Bitcoin as you possibly can, and you will be glad you did. When the price goes crazy and everybody's buying it because of the price increase, you'll have bought it before the price increases, which is always a little bit better of time. Have a great evening, everyone.